So today I want to talk to you about how to analyze your SEO results. So this past month, we've been talking a lot about search engine optimization, from the basics to some tips and tricks to content creation. So if you haven't watched those videos, you can go back and watch them again. They're on my website and my YouTube channel. So definitely check those out. But now we want to look at how to actually analyze your results as you are creating your content and optimizing your site. So that's what we're going to chat about today. All right, so we're going to talk about your tracking system, and not every tracking system has to look exactly the same. So just because this is what I use does not mean you need to use it, but I hope that this will be a good starting point for anyone who's maybe unfamiliar or tracking things is not in your nature typically. We're going to look at the 3 top things I like to start with when looking at SEO to really just gauge how well our efforts are going. There's so much more that you could look at, but we don't have the time for it today, and it'll quickly make your head spin if you're not super familiar with the SEO world. So those 3 things are going to be tracking organic traffic, your keyword rank increase, so wanting to track that, and then also tracking your bounce rate decrease. So we'll touch on those points today, go into them a little bit more in depth. And if you have any questions, as I mentioned, you can always drop them in the chat or the Q&A box. All right, so this was a great quote that I think is super helpful just for me, even when I'm thinking about SEO. So if you're going to post content on your site anyway, you might as well take the time to make sure Google takes notice of your effort. So this is advice that I need to take myself. There's so many times where for my business, I can just be a little quick to say, okay, I've got my content, it's up there, I've optimized, pieces of it for SEO, but maybe there's things that I'm not taking into account. And so tracking a lot of these things is really helpful for me too, because I can think, okay, what am I missing? What kinds of things do I need to be doing so that Google can take note of the content that I'm creating, which ideally will, then bring it to people who are going to read it. So first, let's start with the setup. So before you create any content or start to optimize your site, putting together your tracking system from the get-go is going to be the most beneficial thing you can possibly do for yourself. So set up that process ahead of time. I recommend starting with at least a monthly check-in time where you put it in your calendar, set aside at least an hour where you're going to sit down, you're going to look at your analytics, and you're going to see how your site is performing based on the key performance indicators that you select. And you'll want to make sure that you know also where you're starting so you can see how you're improving. So before you start with any SEO kind of processes, see what kind of traffic you're already getting. See what kind of bounce rate you have. See where what keywords you're already ranking for. You might be starting at a better place than you expected, or maybe you're even starting at a more difficult spot than you expected. I know for me, when I was doing this for my site, I was like, ooh, wow, I really haven't been paying attention to my SEO. This is, part of why I wanted to focus on it this month, is I know I need to focus on it for myself. So knowing the things that I'm ranking for, knowing that there are keywords that I don't even think of when I'm thinking about the content I'm creating, but that are associated with my content can be really helpful. So start by setting up your platform, setting up your system, and putting it into your schedule so that it doesn't become this thing that just keeps getting pushed down to the bottom of your priority list, right? So start there. Once you have that set up, it might look something like this. So this is the SEO tracker that I use, and you can get a free copy of this in the follow-up email. I'll be sending you guys a downloadable copy of it. So you won't have the information in month 1 or 2, but this is kind of how I help track it, right? So let's say I started with 500 people checking out my site with organic traffic, and the next month I have 50 more than that. I can track that percentage jump. And of course, that negative 100% is just because of the way the formula is set up. So when you add new content, it'll automatically update. And then, you can fill it out with your highest ranking keywords, your bounce rate, all of those different things. And those columns with the rate increase or decrease will help you to understand what kind of levels you're really seeing. So, that could also be a good place to start with. What goals do you want to see? Do you want to see your, organic traffic increase by 10% every month, month over month? Okay, what do you need to do to get to that? Is that plausible? Going from 500 to 550 in organic traffic feels and typically is much more tangible, and like you could probably accomplish it much more easily than, let's say, you had 2,000 and you're trying to get to 2,500, right? So definitely thinking through, what level of increase do you want to see? What are you going to consider something as like a warning signal? So, if your, percentages go in between maybe 2% month over month, maybe that's not a warning sign to you. But if they all of a sudden drop 10, 15, 20, 50%, then that's a big red flag of like, oh, okay, what are we going to do? So it could be something literally as simple as this Excel document, or if you want to set up something on your own, you can definitely do that and just plot in your different KPIs and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's one option. The other thing that you're going to want to do to track your organic traffic here, so this is where I pulled this information, is from Google Analytics. So in Google Analytics, ideally you'll have it set up, and no matter what platform you're on for your website, you can attach your Google Analytics account to your website. And this is the type of report that will pull up. And so organic search is where we want to look, right? So direct means if someone directly typed in my email or my website address. Organic search means that some content came up when someone was searching on typically Google, but could be any other browser as well. So it shows that within the last month, I've had 150 total users, and 47 of them came from organic search. 42 of them were new users. And I had a total of 56 sessions, which basically means 56 times people were checking in. So that tells me a couple of things. One, that I've had a lot of new people coming to my site, which is good. But I also have had people returning, and that they're spending time, browsing and looking around. That bounce rate is really low, which is wonderful. And then, there's all this other data as well. So this is kind of the key place here. I can literally spend hours in Google Analytics looking at all the different points of the website, but this is where I typically go first and foremost, just to see what my numbers are. So I want to see that organic search number for users and new users continue to increase month over month. So if we're at 47 this month, I want it to be 60 next month. Ideally it'd be great if there were 500 people, but at the same time, that's not necessary for my business right now, right? So I have a full book of business, and so I'm not necessarily worried if my website isn't getting a lot of active users. But if you are selling a product, if you are looking to fundraise, if you are currently looking to take on new work, that might be something that you really want to focus on. Is, okay, I need to be getting some more traffic to my site so that people can be learning about me and checking through all of the content I have to offer. So just a few things to think through. And, no number is better than another. Just because, let's say I had 2,000 people visiting my site, that doesn't necessarily mean that those are the right 2,000 people. If I can get 47 people on my site and they're the right type of clients for me, then that is far better than if I had 2,000 people with maybe 2 of them actually being potential clients. So something else to think through. And that's not necessarily data that you can get from Google Analytics, but as you kind of get to explore and just see okay, how many people are actually contacting me through the website or taking action on the website, you'll be able to see kind of what percentage of effectiveness it is for you. Okay, cool. So that's where you can find your organic traffic. And you can just plot that into your platform, your Excel file, whatever you're using. So some tips for tracking organic traffic: investigate when it was posted and what page or promotion is driving the highest levels of organic traffic. So you can go into Google Analytics and see what referral links is what they're typically called, and see where they're coming from. So on here, you can see that most people are coming through some type of direct link. So maybe that's, I'm sending them a website, maybe they're being referred to by a friend, maybe they're just directly typing in westfalldigitalstrategies.com just because they know about it. Whatever it is, they're doing that directly. And then Google is the second highest. And then I have Facebook, LinkedIn, mobile Facebook, Flowdesk, which is my newsletter service provider. And then for whatever reason, they've done this second newsletter email, which I think might be from being in other people's newsletters, right? So if I'm in someone's MailChimp or something like that, that's kind of where it can be. I kind of have to assume that that's what it's talking about. DuckDuckGo is interesting. So that's something for me to think through too. Like, let's say, for example, DuckDuckGo was one of my top referral mediums or source mediums. I might want to consider researching how to optimize my content on that browser. And like, there may not be anything that I need to do differently, but just knowing that if that were something that was getting me a lot of traffic, I would want to research that some more. HeraHub.com, wonderful. Another HeraHub.com, which is great. So all of these things are places that people have clicked on my links to get to my website from those different places. So for example, this information is also telling me right now that Facebook is one of my top referring social media platforms. And then LinkedIn is my second top. And then Facebook again, right? Like, there's no Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest on here. And so this is even going to inform me like, okay, maybe I should be focusing more on Facebook and LinkedIn, which I am, than necessarily on Instagram, right? If I'm not getting a lot of traffic from Instagram to get new clients, then that may not be the platform that I want to focus most of my energy on, but focusing on Facebook and LinkedIn could be a better use of my limited time and resources, right? So maybe that can be a helpful tool for you as well, is to see, okay, are we putting a lot of content out on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or LinkedIn or literally any platform? Where are we investing a lot of time and energy, and are we seeing results from that? So that's another kind of tip as well, to see what is really helping you and boosting the traffic to your website. And then that second tip is just record the changes and which platforms are getting the best results. So you could even put on your tracking, setup, okay, here are our top 3 source mediums for the first month that we're tracking. And then we're going to put it in for the second month that we're tracking. And if they're the same, then we can kind of continue that's kind of a validation, right? To continue on with what we're doing, to continue investing in those particular mediums. Whereas if they all of a sudden flip or change that second month, I would personally just wait a third or fourth month, right, to see where they go. But let's say there's a lot of back and forth. That might mean that you need to do some more critical thinking and analysis of, okay, which of these platforms is really going to be helpful, and why is there all this back and forth? So just tracking even those things can be really helpful for you to figure out, okay, as I'm creating content and I'm sharing that content, what is getting me the most for my time and for my energy? So just a couple tips there. All right, next up, let's talk about keyword ranking. So here's just 3 things to do to really check on the keywords for your website that you want to rank for. And so this comes back to researching these keywords ahead of time. And so you can put them in that document template that I'm sharing with you, or whatever document you're using. Just list out all the keywords that you want to be ranking for. Ideally, you want to prioritize them, right? So maybe there's specific keywords that you want to be ranking for because you're promoting a specific product or service this month. Those should be at the top of your list. Or maybe there's something that you really want to focus on building up some authority in, and so you want to rank those or put them higher on your list as well. So just to check and see each month where you're ranking on them, there's a few things you can do. First, you can Google them yourself. So you can literally just go into Google or Safari or wherever and just type them in and see where in your rank, or where on the results page you rank, and just record that. So if you search, for me, if I'm searching social media manager and Westfall Digital Strategies comes up as the 12th result, right, for 1 month, I want to put that in my document, in my template. Then the next month when I look, if it's gone from 12 to 8, I want to put that in my document as well, so I can see that growth. Or vice versa, let's say that we start at 12 and then all of a sudden I'm at 15 and all of a sudden I'm at 20 the next month. That's an indication that I need to be doing something different, and I need to investigate what is losing me that rank. Could it be that I have competitors who are ranking higher for some reason? Could it be that the content that I'm creating isn't what Google would consider relevant to the search for that keyword? So many different things that could influence that. And that's also why it's helpful to kind of be prepared for month after month, right? To have things change. So the first thing is just to Google them yourself, see what happens. The second thing you can do is go to Google Search Console. And so Google Search Console is just a really quick and easy tool that you can connect to your website, and it gives you a lot of great information about your website's performance. And one of the things they have is a list of the queries that you pop up for most frequently. And so that can be another really helpful way to check it out. The third thing is Ahrefs Keyword Ranker tool. So this is a free tool. There's some limitations for it. If you're only using the free version of it, you can pay for it. So if it's something that you're investing some time into for your SEO, I would consider, getting the paid version just so you can really get an accurate representation of your site. But basically what they do is it tells you exactly where you're ranking for that specific keyword, or if you rank at all. The free version, I believe, only will let you know if you rank within the top 100. So if you're after the 100th rank, then you won't show up. They basically won't, they'll say they don't have data for you. But that could mean that you're the 101st or the 700th, right? And those two numbers are very different. If you are in 700th place for that keyword, it's going to take a lot to get you into that top 100 and, higher. Whereas if you're 101st, you're like, oh, okay, I'm almost there. If I stick with this, if I keep going and keep moving forward, I can slowly start to build that rank. So those are 3 tools that I like to use for keyword ranking. And it's really as simple as it sounds, is just where do I show up on the Google results page? Where do I rank for this specific keyword? And then, if you're really, really low on that keyword list, and there's a lot of competition for it, you may want to consider reprioritizing that, just depending upon how urgently you want to rank for a specific keyword, right? So I know that there's a million people and a million companies that are trying to rank for something like social media manager, but the level of competition for social media manager Washington, D.C., or female social media manager, or millennial social media manager, or something like that, could be significantly lower. Now, I don't want it so low that no one's looking for it, but it could be an opportunity for me to think, okay, what is something within that realm of those keywords that I want to rank for that I can utilize that might have lower competition? So something to think on. All right, next up, let's talk bounce rates. So your bounce rate is the percentage of site visitors who navigate away from your site after viewing only one page. And so this could be a variety of things. This doesn't mean that they didn't get the information they wanted. There's plenty of people, especially if you are really intentional and concise about what you're creating, they might get the answer that they're looking for from the first page on your site that they go to. But if you are wanting to get people to land on one page and then explore other pages on your site, it can be really helpful to see that bounce rate decrease and know that you are creating content that is encouraging them to learn more about the rest of your offerings or services or business. And so that's where tracking the bounce rate can be really, really helpful. It essentially tells Google, like, yes, I found what I'm looking for. This is right. Show this for future queries like this as well. So just a few things there. Like I said, strong websites that have content related to other pages usually also have internal links and even easy navigation. So if you have a high bounce rate, you may want to look at, okay, is it easy to navigate my website? Do I have enough internal links directing people to other pages on my site? All that kind of stuff. So that's one that I really like to track. So while you want the other two things that we've talked about, your organic traffic and your keyword ranks to increase, you want to see your bounce rate decrease. And typically, last I looked, like 35% bounce rate is actually pretty average and pretty good. If you can get to like 40% or lower, that's a really solid bounce rate. So something to consider there. All right, so here are some tools to use. So like I said, I have an SEO tracker template that I'll share with you. And I also offer a SEO mini audit. So that can be super helpful if you're just not sure where to start. Google Analytics, Google Search Console. If I'm going to say you have to have anything, you should have those two things. Ahrefs is another great resource and tool. Moz, SEMrush, and Ubersuggest are also great SEO tools to use, and all of them have some version of free resources for you. So definitely great places to start, and a lot of great resources in general. All right, it is question and answer time. Let's see what we've got. Any questions? Feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A box. Don't mind me. Sorry, I think I hit the video button. All right, if we don't have questions, that is all right too. I know that's a lot to process. There we go, I'm back. My technology likes to freak out on me sometimes. Awesome. Okay, well, hopefully no questions means I answered things concisely and completely. But if you do have questions about anything, please feel free to reach out. I would be happy to chat with you. Something I'm just starting up now is I'm going to be Hera Hub's marketing guru. And so I'll have hours on Fridays. I think just once or twice a month. I don't know. I got to figure them out. But I will make sure to include that in the follow-up email as well. So you can get some free time with me, about 20, 30 minutes, and we can chat through any of those questions, all that kind of stuff. So if you have an opportunity and you want to chat, you can always connect with me for those guru hours, and I will make sure to put the link there on my website and in my emails as always. All right, so next week we're going to talk about how to approach SEO for your business, talking about especially how to hire someone for SEO. So some big questions that you want to be asking, and just how to approach it. And then as always, I would love to get feedback from you just on what you want to learn about in future sessions and what would be most helpful for you. So please, if you haven't already, take some time to fill out that survey that will come with the follow-up email. And then as I mentioned, for April, we're doing free SEO mini audits. And so if you would like to request one of those for your website, I would love, love, love to audit your site. So please feel free to reconnect or connect with me via email. And I am so glad that you guys were able to join me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday and a great weekend. See you guys next week. Bye.